To identify a verb issue, I do a quick vertical scan, knowing that I'm already in a grammar question, and I see a series of verbs. So I'm either going to be one of two types of verb questions broadly. It's going to be a verb tense, which is past, present, future, and then simple, continuous or progressive, or perfect, or really we don't see the continuous perfect too much, or number. Is it the subject singular or plural? The verb has to agree with that. So that's one of the issues, and that's the first one we're going to cover in this video here. The other one, just so you recognize it, is the verbs finite versus non-finite. And all that basically means is the finite is a conjugated verb. It could be a main verb conjugated for the sentence. Any of these could be main conjugated verbs in this example. Non-finite would be the infinitive, to run, or the participle, running, the verb ending in the ing. If you see these in a series of these, you're probably looking at a verb finite, non-finite. So I don't see these in this example. These are not here, so I know I'm dealing with a verb tense number issue. In this case, looks pretty clear the issue is about number. Is the subject going to be singular or plural? So the first thing I check is they were. That would be a plural. They have been. They are. And was would be he was. This is the only singular answer. So I'm going to check this first. It doesn't mean the others can't be the answer. There's no grammar reason they couldn't be. But it just so happens it's almost always the one that stands apart. So let's check this. Amplifying the voices and experiences of black soldiers was of particular importance. What's the subject here? Well, it's amplifying. This is what we call a gerund. It's a verb ending in ing that acts as a noun. Amplifying is a thing here. It was of particular importance to Chester. This is not plural. Here's another example. Quick scan. I've got a series of to be verbs. They are, they were, they have been, he was. Pretty much the same thing. I'm going to check the he, the singular case first. So he was would be put here. So what is the subject noun here to this verb? Well, boy, we've got a pretty long parenthetical from here to here. So I have to jump before that. And in fact, I've got a preposition, which we see quite a bit before the actual verb. This is a prepositional phrase. I have to jump before that. Survey, chromosomal survey. This is the subject noun. This is what's instrumental in the government's decision to preserve the forest. So I could actually just pull out all of that dependent clause stuff and say, her exhaustive chromosomal survey was, again, it's singular. The stand apart one is correct. Let's see it the other way. He hasn't been, he wasn't, he isn't, they aren't. The one that stands apart here is the plural. Well, I'm going to check that first. Aren't. What is the subject here? Well, again, I've got a comma and I've got a comma, so I need to jump before that dependent clause. I have to jump over it. And again, I've got a prepositional phrase. I actually need to jump over that as well. The subject noun is talents. It's plural. And sure enough, the one that stands apart is the correct one. So you can answer these pretty quickly and move on. On the verb tense issues, it's not always a question of singular versus plural agreement. Note in this case, I could say he measures, he had measured, he would have measured, he will have measured. They're all singular, so that's not going to be the issue. The issue is going to be the tense in these cases. So what do I have? He measures is simple present tense. He measures today, one time. He had measured is perfect, past perfect tense. So he had measured it up until a point in time that he finished in the past. He would have measured. Would have denotes basically the subjunctive mood, which is hypothetical, often accompanies words like can, could, if. He will have been measuring. So this is future continuous, perfect. So what exactly is the right tense here? Let's take a look. In recent years, economists around the world have created new tools that quantify the overall well-being of the country's citizens. So they have created in the past. In India, for example, use of an ease of living index. This tool measures economic potential and quality of life. We wouldn't say this tool had measured. That suggests it stopped measuring in the past, which is what the perfect indicates. That's not right. They created the tool in the past, but it still measures today. So simple present tense is most likely correct. Would have measured? Well, again, that's hypothetical. It's subjunctive. That's not it. The tool is real. It will have been measuring. No, we don't want to say we created it in the past, but we're going to be measuring it on an ongoing basis in the future. That's not right either. So there's a little more work in understanding of your tenses to get the tense issues right. But again, check the number first. If that's not an issue, go right to the tenses and make sure you know the differences between your simple, your progressive or continuous, and your perfect tenses, past, present, and future, and what they denote. Once again, the first thing I might check, knowing that it's a grammar question, and I do a quick vertical scan, so it's verbs. In this case, I can see it's not about finite, non-finite. It's going to be about tense and number. And I check the number first. He studies, he has been studying, he will study, he was studying. This is not going to be a simple number issue. I'm going to have to figure out what's the right tense. Will it be the simple present tense? Will it be the future tense, simple? Or will it be a progressive tense, past progressive? Or has been studying? So what exactly is correct here? I need to read and get some context to understand that. JPL, Bonnie Brady of NASA's JPL, studies data about Saturn's rings collected by the Cassini spacecraft. So would she has been studying? No, she studies today. She will study? No, because she made in the past an interesting discovery. So she's not will studying, even though it kind of sounds okay by itself. She was studying data when, ooh, this looks good too, because this is when she made an interesting. So she was doing this ongoing action when she made a single discovery. I think the answer here could well be was studying. She was studying data about Saturn's rings when she made an interesting discovery. It's not she studies. It's not a one-time event. She studies when. That would not make sense. So again, the word clue here tips off what tense should be correct in the context. So at this point, you should know how to identify verb issues for grammar, recognize that there are two types of verb questions, finite, non-finite, or tense agreement, and be able to do a vertical scan to quickly identify that it's tense agreement in the examples we went through. Check the agreement first, because that could be a quick route to the solution, just by nature, the way this exam is structured, and then check the tense issues and make sure you know your tenses pretty well. The other thing we want you to walk away with is the subject noun is often separated from the verb. So the noun that might be right before the verb could be part of some kind of preposition or other dependent clause. We always, almost always, have to skip over that preposition or dependent clause to get the right subject noun. So get pretty good at doing that. Sometimes we actually have to jump over multiple dependent clauses, which can be a little tricky. I've gone through a few problems where at first I thought it was this subject and then I switch, oh no, it's that subject. So make sure you practice that as well.